Hari Om. I've been asked further to give more details of Mahatma Gandhiji's beautiful and insightful understanding of faith, and especially now I've come across some very beautiful and very inspirational ideas that, in his own words, Mahatma Gandhi gave, which shows not only the profound faith that he had, but also how he understood that this faith would lead him to know God. For again, in All Men Are Brothers, which is the life and thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi as told in his own words, we find this: I know that I shall never know God if I do not wrestle with and against evil at the cost even of life itself. I am fortified in the belief, by my own humble and limited experience, the purer I try to become, the nearer to God I feel myself to be. So here you can see that the religious vein of this man's heart went to the core, for he understood, even though fighting against what he considered evil, the fact that he must remain pure in all aspects of life, action, that alone, if maintained, would draw him ever closer to God himself. How much more should I bear to him, and how much more will I draw near to him, when my faith is not a mere apology, but has become as immovable as the Himalayas, and as white and bright as the snows on their peaks. So he's speaking that actually the purity of his life, the sadhana, the daily routine of spiritual exercises he did, strengthened his faith. This is a unique and really insightful understanding, because we come to believe that there's nothing that will give us strong faith, and so we flounder in our effort to try to somehow give evidence to a living and vibrant faith in our life and heart. But Mahatma Gandhi is saying that the actual purity of life, the actual not only moral but spiritual purity that can be maintained through sadhana and all the activities of life, being as simple as eating a clean diet, keeping the body clean, but more importantly, a clean mind, and a mind that is striving, though seen to be clean, to be ever more pure, to the extent that the more pure it is, the nearer to God we will draw, and the stronger our faith will become. He continues to say, this belief in God has to be based on faith which transcends reason. Indeed, even the so-called realization has to, at the bottom, be an element of faith without which it cannot be sustained. In the very nature of things, it must be so. Who can transgress the limitations of his own being? I hold that complete realization is impossible in this embodied life. Nor is it necessary. A living, immovable faith is all that is required for reaching the full spiritual height attained by human beings and attainable by all human beings. This is a remarkable statement. But for those who have fought the good fight, and for those who have been victorious, they understand, yes, that for God nothing is impossible, and for man all that is required is not this quote-unquote full self-realization, which he proclaims as being impossible, and this is not outside of the Vedic understanding, that we cannot become God, we cannot really know God, we can become like God, we can become likened by God. But more importantly, the Mahatma says that even though a complete realization is impossible, it's not even required. God is not outside this earthly case of ours. Therefore, external proof is not so much avail, if any at all. He's now saying that we do not even need external proof of God's existence, for all lies within, and as we become more and more pure, our faith will manifest, and then the realization will come upon us to the extent that we understand the nature of God and the living presence of God within. This is why Sri Ramana Maharshi and more of our present day said, faith is the cause of realization. Gandhiji continues, the divine music is incessantly going on within ourselves, but the loud senses drown the delicate music, which is unlike the infinitely superior to anything we can perceive or hear with our senses. But he is no God who merely satisfies the intellect, if he ever does. God, to be God, must rule the heart and transform it. This is what Mahatma Gandhi is meaning by purity, a transformed heart, completely transubstantiated, to become different, even in its very nature and in the molecular structure even. This is how saints become incorrupt after death. The Spirit of God has permeated into every cell of their being, and because of that, nothing is subject to death. In conclusion, he says, through a definite realization more real than the five senses can ever produce, we must perceive God. Sense perceptions can be, and often are, false and deceptive. However real they may appear to be, where there is realization outside the senses, it is infallible. It is proved not by extraneous evidence, but by the transformed conduct and character of those who have felt the real presence of God within. So it is these things which we find the saints tell us, that we'll know that God is real, and we'll know that God is communing with us for our behavior. Our very life will be changed, and therefore the truth of the Bible will someday, even soon, be evoked in us, where it was said, God is glorious in his saints. Adi Om.